Middletown is located in central Connecticut in the Connecticut River Valley, where the Mattabesett and Connecticut rivers meet. The new community officially became a town, adopting the name Middletown in reference to its distance halfway between the mouth of the Connecticut River and Windsor. It is 42.9 square miles in area. The estimated population is approximately 44,000 people. MAT stands for Middletown Area Transit, which is a bus company located on Main Street. The bus company travels throughout our city daily. We are fortunate to have a hospital in our town. It is called Middlesex Hospital. It has 275 beds. It also has a helicopter landing pad on its roof. The U.S. Post Office in Middletown is on 11 Silver Street. Our zip code is 06457. The Middlesex Hospital Medical Center is located on Saybrook Road. It has doctor's offices, labs, x-ray, and outpatient surgical services. Middletown also has its own newspaper. It is called the Middletown Press. It is located on Main Street across from the South Green. As part of our community, we have community workers such as firemen and policemen. This is the Middletown Fire Department located on Main Street. There are also branches such as South Fire District, Westfield Fire District, and Cross Street Fire Station. Middletown has a new police station located on Main Street. The police officers were very happy to move into their new building. Now they have more room, many offices, and state-of-the-art computer equipment. The policemen handle a variety of responsibilities, such as traffic control, accidents, community relations, and investigations. In 1994, the Middlesex Judicial District Court Complex was opened. The building serves 15 towns. It has 7 levels and an attached 365-space parking garage. Because of the outstanding support of the Mayor and Common Council, Middletown continues to show significant business growth over the past several years. The downtown area is making a strong comeback. With new restaurants and businesses, it has returned to the kind of place families can enjoy. You can feel a renewed energy on Main Street. Middletown's population continues to grow. People are moving to Middletown and living in the many different housing units which are available. Here are some examples. The condos of Westlake, Wesleyan Hills, and farmland being sold to make room for new housing. New developments are popping up all over our city. Middletown continues to grow. Today we look to the river as a resource for tourism and recreation. Like the river, our city is always changing and becoming a better place to live. Indian Hill Cemetery is on a hillside which occupies high ground west of the Wesleyan University campus. It was formerly an Indian settlement. It was also a tribal burial ground and the seat of tribal government. There is a beautiful view from the top of the hill at the cemetery and many wandering roads and paths, all of which still have Indian names. The Indian Hill Cemetery Chapel sits in the middle of Indian Hill Cemetery. It was built by Mrs. Samuel Russell in memory of her husband and is used for burial services. It has beautiful stained glass windows and a massive bronze door. Riverside Cemetery was started in 1650 when Middletown was first settled. Only 2 stones dated 1689 are still left standing. One of the stones is that of Giles Hamlin, a prominent settler. Other stones might have been destroyed when the railroad came through in 1850. and some were moved to Cromwell. For the year 1776, 22 gravestones were found, most of them children. Many children died in the early days, death being attributed to, quote, worms, block conchies, fits, consumption, putrid fever, dropsy, and rattles and yaws, end quote, among other more common diseases. Many of the brownstone gravestones in these old cemeteries are carved with round, primitive faces with round eyes, bulbous noses, and downturned mouths indicating sorrow, and sprouting crowns and wings. Some of the old stones are made like tables. Visitors to this cemetery should be very careful not to damage the old stones. They are a very important part of Middletown's history. Here are two monuments on Washington Street to honor people from Middletown who fought in World War II, the Korean War, and the Vietnam War. The Peter Boardman House is a center chimney colonial house which faces west from Main Street, nearly opposite the South Green. It is set close to the street on a block that has many business buildings. Across the street are four old houses dating from the 18th and 19th centuries. When this picture was taken, the building was used as a restaurant called the White Eagle Cafe. It currently houses a real estate business. These houses were not built originally on Main Street. John Reynolds III had these houses moved to Main Street in 1977 because they were going to be destroyed to make way for the new stores in Metro South. He felt that they were important to save because they show the way houses were built long ago. The first house was built in 1771 and belonged to Caleb Fuller, who was a preacher, constable, schoolmaster, and part-time tavern keeper. This house has been moved twice. In 1842, it was moved west on William Street so that the First Baptist Church, which you can see in the extreme right of the picture, could be built. Notice the gambrel roof on this house. The next house belonged to Reverend John Cookson, who was pastor of the First Baptist Church and built the house in 1837. The last house on the right belonged to Mehitabel Southmaid. The Southmaid family was a prominent family in Middletown. Mehitabel's husband, William, died before the house was finished, so he never had a chance to live in it. The fanlight window near the roof should be noted. The Joseph Rockwell House is the only old house still left around the South Green. It's a colonial-style house. Years ago, the road to New Haven started right here. Years later, its name was changed to South Main Street. By 1874, the South Green became known as Union Park. Even though the roads and park changed, Joseph Rockwell's house always stayed the same. It has a beehive oven, wrought iron hardware, and wide floorboards. The historical Mansfield House is located on the southerly end of Main Street. This is a federal-style house. This house was built for Samuel Mather in 1810. When Mather's daughter Lucy married John Mansfield in 1838, the house was turned over to them, and we now know it as the Mansfield House. The people of Middletown have always been proud of the Connecticut River. Harborview Park was built to provide a pleasant place to picnic and to enjoy the view of the river. The Wangunk Indians first arrived in Middletown on the Connecticut River. Today this is called the DeCoven House, but its first owner was Benjamin Williams. The house was built between 1791 and 1797. It is located at the foot of Washington Street, across from the Connecticut River. During the 17 and 1800s, the richest people lived by the river because many of them were merchants and traders. Williams was a rich man when he built this house, so he made it out of bricks. Most of the homes at this time were made out of wood. Henry L. DeCoven, a merchant ship captain, bought the house in 1818. His son, Reginald, became a well-known musician and composer who wrote America's first opera taken from the story of Robin Hood. Today the building houses mostly offices, but there are still some rooms set up the way Benjamin Williams would have lived in them. When settlers first came to Middletown, they met often to discuss town business. They also met every Sunday to worship God. At first there was no meeting house. When the weather was good, they met where Riverside Cemetery is now located. When the weather was not good, they met at the John Hall House nearby. This building shows what used to be the front meeting house. By about 1820, most of the shipping business had moved to big seaports like Boston or New York. There was no longer any reason for the wealthy people to live near the river. The in place to live in Middletown moved from downtown to High Street. In 1828, Samuel Russell built his house on High Street in a Greek Revival style. Samuel Russell made his fortune trading with China. His business, Russell and Company, held the speed record for many years in the trips from China to England. Samuel Russell was known for his generosity. In 1857, he saved local banks from failure, and he is said to have given away as much money as he made in China. The house is called a Greek Revival house because it is made to look like a Greek temple. Some of the things that make it look like a temple are columns on the porch, the color white because Greek temples are white, and smoothness because Greek temples are built of smooth stone. The first grist mill in Middletown was located where Wilcox and Crittenden now is. Thomas Miller was given the land in 1655 on the condition that he build and operate a mill on it. Today there is a piece of the millstone and a plaque on the side of the building. Over the years, several other businesses were built on the same spot to use the water from Pammicha Creek to make woolen materials. People of Italian descent arrived in Middletown in the 1890s and 1900s. At first, the only Catholic church for them to attend was St. John's, but that did not work out too well. The Italian people wanted their own church. In 1930, they started construction on it. The people were so determined to have their own church that they made great sacrifices to build it. Most of the men donated their time and skills as masons, stone cutters, etc. There is an interesting story about the man who made the statue of St. Sebastian for the church. On the eve of the day it was to be dedicated, he was still not satisfied. He worked late into the night, and finally it was finished, except for the eyes. Finally he came across the perfect set of eyes, those of his daughter's favorite doll. The next morning his daughter was upset to find her doll with no eyes, but the old man explained to her that they were being put to good use. The people were very pleased with their church when it was completed in 1931 because it was made to look almost exactly like the church in their hometown village of Melili, Sicily. Middletown used to have a post office building on Main Street. The new post office building is on Silver Street. Next to the railroad tracks near St. John's Church is O'Rourke's Diner. In 1947, John O'Rourke had the diner built in New Jersey and shipped to Middletown on a railroad car. The diner is shaped to look like a dining car on a train. 30 years ago, dining cars looked like that, and a lot of diners did too. The mayor's office and the offices of the other government departments are located in this building. Middletown has recently built a new courthouse. Middletown was the first city in the state to start a public high school. In 1840, the first high school began meeting in rooms under what is now the Russell Library. In 1895, this building was built and served as a high school until 1973, when the new Middletown High School was completed. Today it has been made into apartments for the elderly. This is a photo of the new high school building. Citizens of Middletown felt the need to have a college in the town. In 1825, Captain Alden Partridge was persuaded to move his academy from Norwich, Vermont. A chapel and North and South colleges were built. In 1829, because of a disagreement with the Connecticut legislature about granting degrees, Captain Alden returned to Vermont. In 1831, the Methodist Episcopal Church bought the buildings, and Wesleyan University was started. This is a picture of the Wesleyan Chapel. Today, Wesleyan is a famous college, attracting students from all over the country. The building that houses the Russell Library was built in 1833 and was an Episcopal church. In 1875, Mrs. Frances Russell had the building renovated and provided money so that Middletown could have a free library in memory of her husband, Samuel Russell. Since that time, there have been many changes. The meeting room addition and the children's room have been built. The people of Middletown live in a diverse and ever-changing city. Improvements are constantly taking place to keep it a great place to work, live, and play.